Have you ever thought, as a parent, when you protect your child, or when you try to protect your child from failure, but leads to long-term dependence and fear of participation? What do you do as a parent? You have tried to protect your child using all means possible, protecting your child from failure. You don't want your child to fail. You have protected your child from failure, and as you do so, that act of protecting your child from failure leads to long-term dependency or long-term dependence and fear of participation. The child totally depends on you for everything. And this child is not willing to involve himself or herself in anything else because the parent is there, the father is there, the mother is there. Why should I care? Everything is provided for. Now the child becomes so dependent on you and fears to participate and go out there and explore life, because the child knows even if I go back to my parent, I will receive what I want. They are always there. They have my back. Sometimes when we protect our children from failure, we must have measures and limits. That up to this point, I will have to let you go out there and explore and become, so that you are not becoming a dependent on me. You don't become always falling back to me as your father, as your mother. That we must not create dependence in our children and encourage them not to participate in life. That one also is connected with the assistance we give to our children and even friends and even other people. Sometimes it could be financial assistance, intending to help the person to become independent. And this act may lead or may encourage laziness and dependence, especially in our children. We are always giving them a hand up. We are giving them a hand up all the time. And this may encourage laziness and dependence. Those two are connected. This is purely for parents. The other thing I would like to talk about today is discipline without love. As you discipline your children, but without love, creates what we call resentment and rebellion. Disciplining your children without love, that means discipline without love, creates in a child resentment and rebellion. The child becomes rebellious. As the child grows, becomes rebellious and harbors a lot of resentment towards you. You may have intended through discipline to create something called excellent character in your child, or creating some excellence in your child. That could have been your aim, to create excellence, an excellent character in this child. But without love, creates resentment and a rebellious spirit in a child. So as we discipline our children, in one way or another, whichever way we use to discipline our children, we must discipline them, but with love. Our discipline of our children must be accompanied with love in order to create in this child an excellent character, or some excellency in this child. Sometimes, as parents, we want to motivate our children by using fear. Using fear to motivate our children to produce results. But at the end, using fear to motivate brings anxiety, shame, and paralysis under pressure, especially in our children. If we instill fear in our children in order to motivate them to do something, that because of fear, this child will be motivated to do something, it will create at the end anxiety in the child, a sense of shame, and paralysis because the child is under pressure. Because the child is under pressure. And as a parent, sometimes you avoid a difficult conversation, either with your children. You avoid a difficult conversation with your child or with your children. Reason being, you just want peace. Or either you avoid a difficult conversation with your spouse because you want peace with your spouse and with your children. Avoiding difficult conversations makes things worse. Avoiding difficult conversations returns at some time. It returns at some time to you and to your family, and it will wreak havoc. That difficult conversation that you avoid in your family as a parent, either with your children or with your spouse, it will return at some time later to wreak havoc. That conversation that you avoided, the difficult one, you avoided it. It will come back to you at some times later, and it will cause havoc. It will wreak havoc in your family. Never avoid difficult conversations. Take those conversations. You will solve more than when it comes back later to wreak havoc in your family. So as a parent, never avoid difficult conversations, either with your spouse or with your children. If you do, this difficult conversation will come back in one way or another to wreak havoc in your family. Sometimes we may wish to vent. But as a parent, you better avoid venting in the presence of your children, because if you do, you venting about something before your children or in the presence of your children, unintendedly, you ruin your reputation as a parent and your relationship with your children. As a parent, avoid venting about something unintendedly. That venting will ruin your reputation as a father, your reputation as a mother before your children, and it will ruin your relationship with your children or with your child. As parents, we take responsibility not to make, for example, sarcastic jokes at someone Avoid making these sarcastic jokes at someone else's expense. You may want to make sarcastic jokes about your children or your spouse, but it will create humiliation. It humiliates the person. That person feels humiliated. That child feels humiliated. Your spouse feels humiliated. And at the same time, that person feels excluded. More importantly, or more than that, your words touch on a childhood wound. That sarcastic joke, those words you have used, they touch a childhood wound either of your spouse or in your children. And what does that one do? That sarcastic joke awaken a lifelong insecurities. It awakens insecurities in that person, lifelong insecurities. Apart from feeling humiliated, feeling excluded, a lifelong insecurity or insecurities are awakened, and that wound will never heal. So for parents today, let us at least avoid some of the things we do in the presence of our children and be good role models for our children. Be good examples for our children. Those are some of the things I thought to talk about today, and specifically for parents. We shall continue talking more, but for today, that's all I had to talk about. Just a few things to note as a parent. We may continue this conversation. May God bless you and bless you. Embrace you and bless you.